Today, we as European Parliament say clearly, we stand with Bobi Wine, Uganda's opposition and civil society, and all those who risk everything to demand freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague, Mr. Froehlich.
Thank you, Chair. Dear Commissioner, ahead of the elections, Bobi Wine was cheered by tens of thousands of Ugandan voters wherever he appeared in the country. Now, after the elections, he is under siege, and tens of thousands of citizens took the streets, this time in protest. The post-election situation in Uganda shows a systematic assault on fundamental rights. President Museveni's seventh term followed elections that failed to meet democratic standards.
And to meet minimum democratic standards.
What happened on January 15th in Uganda, the so-called elections, were not an election.
Yep.
They were a military operation.
They were a military operation, absolutely.
And the facts confirm it. Soldiers, acting on direct government orders, raided the home of opposition leader Bobi Wine, assaulted his family and forced the family into exile. Opposition supporters were arrested, disappeared or were killed.
We've got to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to talk about this. The European Union is being unequivocal. It is condemning the lawlessness and the impunity of the Ugandan government. They were uncompromising, unambiguous in as far as calling out the sham election we had in Uganda for what it is. They mentioned the killing of people, the abduction of people, the Museveni's raiding of Bobi Wine's home, the continued deployment of the military at Bobi Wine's home, to mention but a few. So we've got to talk about this. And I've seen Museveni or Muhoozi sympathizers clutching their pearls saying, why? You want to colonize us? Like they usually do every time they're called out by forces from the outside, especially the West. But before I do that, I want to join millions of Ugandans to say, happy birthday, Mr. President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert. This is when we last met in Boston, Massachusetts for the National Unity Platform Convention. It was an amazing time. I didn't know he was outside. Remember, I interviewed him. If you want to go on and watch the interview here, you can just type in Mordecai Morisa interview with Bobi Wine on YouTube, and you're going to see our conversation. I was just outside. I was getting ready to dress up, and then I had a friend of mine who had brought me something. So she's like, hey, Mordecai, I'm at the reception. Bushra Namidimu, former colleague of mine at NBS. So I'm like, okay, I'll be down. I didn't have my belt on. I had not tied my tie. So when he saw me, he's like, Mordecai, come, I need to fix your tie. And I'm like, okay. Okay, then you see, then after we hugged. Amazing, amazing gentleman, extremely humble. I mean, the true meaning of the word humble. I've interviewed him since 2018, but I tell you this, he's a very, very, very humble man. So thank you so much, Mr. President, for dedicating your life to fight for the Ugandan people. You could have you decided to completely keep quiet, ignore about the lawlessness and the impunity we see in our country, but you chose discomfort. You chose to put your life on the line, all in service for the Ugandan people and yourself, because I know for sure that you might, sometimes folks think, they have freedom. But what is freedom when your neighbor is being oppressed? It is not freedom, but you decide. Many people decide to be like, okay, I will live in this facade of freedom. But you said, no. I saw somebody who said, Mordecai, are you this short? And I said, no. On that day, I just decided to leave my height at home. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on and listen to the European Parliament commenting on the Ugandan politics and the criminal regime of Museveni.
To win up this joint debate, the debate is closed and the vote will be held tomorrow. The next item on the agenda is debates on cases of breaches of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Next debate on the agenda is post-election situation in Uganda and threats against opposition leader Bobi Wine. My first speaker is uno de los autores, el señor.
Muchas gracias, President.
Thank you very much, President.
In Uganda, the full subversion of democratic standards, abuse, severe restrictions on civic space, widespread intimidation of opposition figures, fraud, violence, and a nationwide internet blackout. How is it possible that the main opposition candidate, Mr. Bobi Wine, could have been sieged by the military in his house and his family and his wife assaulted by government forces?
How is it possible? How do we even call that an election where the house of a presidential candidate is raided, placed under government radar and surveillance? He's forced to flee. They wanted to arrest him and probably take him in northern Uganda or somewhere like they used to do with Dr. Chiza Besigye. How are all these things possible?
All of this to guarantee a seventh term in office of Yoweri Museveni.
Exactly.
It's just unacceptable, and Europe cannot accept this.
It is just unacceptable, and Europe cannot accept this. Now, this is why you have sympathizers of the Museveni regime clutching their pearls. They want to colonize us. You are a colonizer. Leave us. Dude, you're already colonizing me. So if you are my colonizer, do I even have a choice? I can choose whoever I want. These folks want to place us in colonialism. I mean, Museveni and Muhoozi. They want to colonize the Ugandan people. And if you be like, okay, I'm tired of your colonization, I would rather have another colonizer. No, I have a right to colonize you. I have a right to beat you, to violate your rights. No.
I must thank all the political groups that we have convened and made a consensus about this. This is, of course, not just about Uganda. It's about supporting the hundreds of millions of Africans who seek freedom, who seek the right for their voices to be heard, who seek their fight for progress and dignity, but are not allowed to do so through violence and oppression. For decades, this European Union has been engaging with our African partners to try to support free and fair elections. I have myself participated in electoral observations on the continent, and I'm very much aware of the challenges. But we need to do more.
Exactly.
We have the means to do more, because today...
And doing more is abandoning that criminal regime.
It is Bobi Wine in Uganda. Last year it was Tundu Lissu in Tanzania.
Yep.
And next year it might be Alberto Costa Jr. in Angola. Opposition leaders are being persecuted, elections are being stolen, and we cannot allow, as Europeans, continually to close our eyes, and especially our governments who are making economical dealings with the government of Uganda. Commissioner, the Council has to hear high voice and the opinion of this Parliament about these very tragic circumstances that are happening in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Señor López Istúriz, my second speaker is another author, Mr. Hayde.
Thank you, Chair. Dear Commissioner, ahead of the elections, Bobi Wine was cheered by tens of thousands of Ugandan voters wherever he appeared in the country. Now, after the elections, he is under siege, and tens of thousands of citizens took the streets, this time in protest. The post-election situation in Uganda shows a systematic assault on fundamental rights. President Museveni's seventh term followed elections that failed to meet democratic standards.
And to meet minimum democratic standards, like campaigning, Bobi Wine would be assaulted, tear-gassed, derailed and sabotaged. Bare minimum.
Preceded and followed by mass arrests, violence, attacks on journalists, the shutdown of civil society, an internet blackout, and killings of unarmed civilians.
Exactly.
The harassment of Bobi Wine, his family, and members of the National Unity Platform is unacceptable.
Yes.
The European Union must act consistently to end immediately all violence, threats, and the arbitrary detention of opposition politicians and their supporters.
Free all political prisoners.
We must review our cooperation with...
We must review our cooperation, yes.
Uganda and firmly support civil society, journalists, human rights and LGBTIQ plus defenders, as well as the democratic opposition.
You know, this comes just a few days after the U.S. Foreign Relations Committee called for sweeping review of Washington's ties with Uganda. I 100% agree. But isn't it shameful? Ladies and gentlemen, it is very easy for myself to sit here and discuss this and, cry for help from these people. And we're not telling them that, hey, come and try to save the Ugandan people. We're saying, stop your cooperation with this criminal regime. But isn't it shameful that we have a neighbor who's supposed to be telling us on, hey, how about you treat your opponents with respect and kindness and dignity? How about you organize free and fair elections? How long must we be? How shameful must we be that it will take a far neighbor, faraway neighbor, to remind us of what we've got to do, how we should treat our own citizens? This is a shame. This is a shame. Imagine if Uganda was the one telling the USA, you should grant your citizens the right to speech. Stop abducting your citizens. Imagine that. Imagine if we had Americans fleeing their country to Uganda to seek for asylum, for refuge, because of one crime of raising their voice against the Yoweri Museveni criminal regime. Imagine that. We are at a very shameful point. The so-called liberators betrayed the principles upon which they launched war against the government they were accusing of lawlessness and impunity. Gosh.
Mr. Heide, Mr. Othen is as well an author.
Thank you, President, Commissioner, colleagues. What happened on January 15th in Uganda, the so-called elections, were not an election.
Yep.
They were a military operation.
They were a military operation, absolutely.
And the facts confirm it.
Mm-hmm.
Soldiers, acting on direct government orders, raided the home of opposition leader Bobi Wine, assaulted his family and forced the family into exile. Opposition supporters were arrested, disappeared or were killed.
Oh my God, disappeared or killed. These are all truth. Nothing but the truth. People being assaulted for opposing Museveni. I mean, you've watched the stories. NTV is covering. They've got a special segment called Akatu Mubiokulonda, where they're exposing how people were senselessly murdered while internet was, Uganda was an internet blackout. When internet was shut down, they said, okay, this is the time to employ grotesque tactics.
Including Mesa Kokelo, who was fatally shot while attending a peaceful rally. We are deeply alarmed by reports that the regime has publicly threatened to kill opposition leader Bobi Wine. All these are not isolated incidents. They are acts of terror which are meant to silence an entire opposition. We call for the immediate and unconditional release of all political prisoners, an end to military trial of civilians, full accountability for the crimes committed, and a real electoral reform. Today, we as European Parliament say clearly, we stand with Bobi Wine, Uganda's opposition and civil society, and all those who risk everything to demand freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. Mr. Froehlich is an author as well.
Herr Präsident. Thank you, President. Idi Amin, former dictator of Uganda, said that he can't guarantee free speech. Critics of the of what's been happening in Uganda really can show that Uganda is an example of post-colonial area. The opposition is suppressed, and in between 2020 and 2024, millions of euros were spent to ensure governance in Uganda. this has led to reactions, and in the end, this is just wasted money. We should focus development policy on economic growth and infrastructure, not just on exports. That will give us access to resources. It's a win-win situation. That's the best way of dealing with it. Thank you.
We jump into the second part on behalf of the EPP group, Mr. Schenk.
Herr Präsident, liebe
I think I want to give a comment on what he said. Idi Amin didn't guarantee free speech. And Museveni has been boasting about how Uganda operates under free speech. Usually, he uses the fact that Uganda has so many radio stations. And he never allows you to interrogate who owns these radio stations, what do they broadcast, who do they host, you know. So we've criticized Idi Amin for being this brutal dictator, but it's not any different from Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Everything Idi Amin Dada did, Museveni has done the same and beyond. Museveni is a clear personification of Idi Amin Dada and Apollo Milton Obote combined. I'll read you here. Amin became known for two strong qualities. Early in his career, he was quick to resort to violence to settle scores. Hello? And he had little patience with racial injustice. Of course, you know, Museveni with sectarianism. And quick to resort to violence. And I've commented on how he usually addresses his own citizens who are opposed to his agenda. He calls them enemies of the state, terrorists, bad elements, and stuff like that.
President, colleagues.
These folks are now not speaking English, so that's why you hear, you see the voices are not speaking with their lips.
Well, to talk about Uganda is uncomfortable, but to turn a blind eye is irresponsible.
Yeah, to talk about Uganda is uncomfortable, but to turn a blind eye is...
What we say or what we don't say is important. Uganda is in a situation which we cannot possibly ignore. We're talking about citizens who suffer from violence, media that are not allowed to do their work, opposition with a very narrow and ever narrowing political area. So the elections have been characterized by imprisonment and also the removal of the internet, and Bobi Wine, who's had to go into hiding. This is a violation of basic principles. We in the Union want to have partnerships based on human dignity, on freedom, and on the rule of law. Our message, therefore, is absolutely indispensable. We stand on the side of the people of Uganda, not on the side of political repression.
Exactly.
Power without legitimacy is fragile. Stability with no freedom is fragile too. So we need to make sure that we protect human rights. Thank you.
Exactly.
Mr. Bullman, you have the floor on behalf of the Socialists and Democrats group.
Read a social.
Well, you can go on and watch the entire thing by heading over to, I've been watching it from Dr. Sarabidete's X platform. You can go on and watch it right here. We've only listened in for almost 9 minutes, but it's 18 minutes and 10 seconds. I'll show you here. Yep, you can go on and watch it. See, 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Go on and watch it. Look, now, the biggest question now is, will this moment alone bring about the sweeping political changes we want in Uganda? Perhaps not. But the signs are unmistakable. At this particular moment, international patience is indeed thinning. The scrutiny holding these folks accountable we've been crying for is intensifying. And the cracks in the regime's carefully constructed facade are becoming extremely harder to ignore. Like I said, we started with the US's Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and now you have the European Union, and then you have the Ugandan people. Now, I don't want you to look at these people as our savior. Bobi Wine has always said we don't want them to come and save us. All we want is let them not fund this criminal regime. The money that is sent to Uganda to help us in a number of projects is usually channeled to torment the innocent Ugandans who are opposed to the agenda of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So, I'm so glad that they are raising their voices. And please do not be gaslit by Museveni minions and sympathizers who are going to be like, yo, those people want to colonize us. Museveni received foreign funding and help when he was fighting Amin and Obote. Why does he think that it is very okay for him to receive that help, but not the Ugandan people? Why? And they usually blame Bobi Wine for being funded by the West. Ladies and gentlemen, have you taken time to make just basic research on how much money Uganda gets from international bodies such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, countries like USA, and many other countries in the European Union? Have you seen that? Those are usually all gaslighting tactics. They want to play on your mind. But I'm so glad. I was very happy when I saw that. So let me know what you think. My name is Mordecai Morisa. There's someone who told me to review this book. This is a book Bobi Wine took a picture with and posted on his Facebook. So I have a copy. Someone was like, Mordecai, can we review that book? Do you want us to review this book? It's written by the father to New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani. His name is Mahmoud Mamdani. So if you want me to do that, go ahead and write in the comment section. I will know that, actually, that will let me know that you've been able to watch the entire thing for more than 20 minutes. So let me know what you think. My name is Mordecai Morisa. See you later.